James, I see at these talks that you're involved in, you were also examining the potential for space misinformation and disinformation. What are the challenges surrounding that? Is that a growing problem that is increasingly becoming a real issue in terms of how countries are dealing with each other?
Look, there are some real problems with what's happening in space at the moment. We've seen launches go up with objects that have come out that haven't been catalogued or that we thought have been designed for one purpose, but actually they're starting to perform another purpose. We've had satellites both from China and Russia that have manoeuvred in close proximity to American satellites and even in one instance to an Australian owned satellite. And there's a lot of concern around new capabilities that are being deployed in space, satellites with robotic arms that could be used to grapple or pull them down. And of course, we see cyber activity against space assets all the time. We've seen Russia dazzling satellites in space that have been used to provide imagery of the conflict in Ukraine. So we are starting to see a lot more friction between the great powers in space. What happens in space can be hard to determine, but there are new capabilities coming online. One of our companies, Leo Labs, has got a space radar that lets you see much more clearly than ever before what people are doing in space and where satellites are going. So it's a really interesting moment. Space is going to be so important for everything we do, whether it's agriculture, whether it's defence, whether it's maritime surveillance. Both companies and government have a growing reliance on it. We need to understand more about what's going on up there and also what the rules of the road are. I mean, if you have two ships at sea who come close to each other, there are definite rules on how they avoid collision. It's not the case in space, and as we start to see tens of thousands of more satellites go up, we need to work all that stuff out.
James, you mentioned the Artemis 1 launch. As we've been reporting here on Sky News, the moon mission was sadly delayed. We're now looking towards Saturday, I think, as the next launch time. Are you confident that'll be going ahead? And just how exciting is this in terms of a project, the doors it's going to open in terms of future exploration? What are you hoping it'll achieve?
So we had a Space Industry Association function on Monday night. We ran a poll to see whether people thought it would go up or not. Most people thought it wouldn't go up. That's generally the case with these rocket launches. As they say, less go up than blow up. I mean, they're very, very complicated missions. This one has been a long time in the making. It's a huge and powerful rocket on a scale the world's never seen before. And so it will go up at some stage. Whether it's Saturday or whether it's a week from Saturday. But this is a really exciting moment for space. We're going back to the moon for the first time in a long time. You're going to see NASA and its partners build a new space station that will orbit around the moon. You're going to see Australians involved in this. So we have a project underway in Australia at the moment, led by the Australian Space Agency in conjunction with NASA, to put an Australian rover on the moon in 2026. And we can do that because we've got companies, particularly in Western Australia, that are really good at remote and autonomous operations. And because Australian research organisations like CSIRO have a long history of understanding how to deal with lunar dust particularly and resources on the moon. So, I mean, we've got a centre here in Australia that replicates the moon's surface so that we can do experiments to get water, to build rocket fuel on the moon, and that's what this is all about. So it's a very exciting time, and Australia's right in the middle of it all.